What's up, guys? 2D Gamer back again, and today I thought I'd just give a little retrospective view of my personal experience with popular N64 series, Goldeneye and Perfect Dark, and some of the other series that are associated. So, I first rented Goldeneye back, I want to say either late 97 or early 98. I didn't get it whenever it first came out. And I remember all the hype and people were talking about the multiplayer, but when I rented it, you know, I liked the single player. It's kind of cool with the objective-based stuff, even though, I mean, that's just kind of a cover-up for the old ways of progression in first-person shooters to, do an objective instead of go get a key or flip a switch or all that type of stuff. But, you know, I really liked the single player in the game, but when I played multiplayer, it was just me versus my brother. So two-player multiplayer, I didn't really see or understand the appeal, because if one person's better than the other one, then there's, you know, it's not really that much fun. But I didn't officially get Goldeneye till I think it was the day it came down to $40. It was on my birthday in 1998, or it was around the time it came down to $40. So I got this as a birthday present, and then started playing it with my friend, my brother, and I, with 3 controllers and the multiplayer. And then, you know, then I finally saw the appeal of the multiplayer. I mean, it was awesome. You know, 1 versus 1 multiplayer, some people like that, but I really didn't get into it. But with 3 players, it just, you know, more mayhem. And occasionally we'd invite some other people over to try and play, but after they'd get murdered because they didn't know what they were doing that well, you know, it was pretty much just my brother and one of my childhood friends that I would play with all the time. So, you know, after Goldeneye, I mean, I probably put more time into this than I did most role-playing games in that era. So, I mean, every school night or whatnot, you know, my friend comes over, my brother and me, playing this game, usually on like a crappy little 13-inch TV. You know, 4 players or 3 players huddled around a TV in the room or whatnot. And that's actually something that's really cool about retro games, is how we used to have to play multiplayer. I mean, online gaming's cool and all, but there's something that's kind of been lost, I think, over the years. You know, that social aspect of just, you know, a bunch of sweaty guys in a room stinking up the room, and depending on what they're eating, you know, it might really stink up your room. Huddled around a TV, just fragging each other and having a good time. And you know, online's cool too, especially for whenever we got older and our friends that used to come over all the time are busy with family and all that stuff, work and family, so you can still link up and play online. But, you know, I think the kids of today are kind of missing something whenever all they do is just play online with their friends. You know, there's something that's just kind of been lost. So, I mean, a lot of great memories with this game, even though in retrospect I do admit that Goldeneye was actually pretty overrated. I mean, if you look, because I wasn't a PC gamer at the time, but if you look at the games that were on the PC, I mean Goldeneye had some great stuff, and the single player really holds up really well. The controls obviously don't, because the N64 didn't have dual analog sticks. But but if you look on the PC in '97, I mean, Quake came out in '96 and had online gameplay and just fast and fun. Quake 2 in '97. I mean, Goldeneye had its own style on it, and that's, you know, I still enjoy the style. But yes, in retrospect, compared to the PC games at the time, but, you know, if you're a console gamer and couldn't afford a PC, which is, you know, the boat that I was in, then Goldeneye was great. You know, awesome multiplayer that you could just lose hours to with you and a couple of friends. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely overrated, especially today where people are just like, oh, I love Goldeneye and blah, 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 blah. And I have a bunch of great memories with this game, don't get me wrong, but still, I mean, over the test of time, it hasn't, you know, held up as well as, at least in my book, because I went back and I discovered what other games, what other shooters there were. But, you know, still, for the consoles, is a huge shooter, huge, you know, brought, I mean, there was uh, multiplayer in console games previously, but it was usually done like with the link cable, or I forget what the cable for the Saturn is. Like Doom on the PS1, you can play against each other and stuff, but you had to have two PlayStations, two TVs, and a link cable. So it was kind of like early LAN gaming. So it didn't have split screen 4-player Fragfest, and that's what GoldenEye introduced to first person shooters on the consoles. So, and comparatively, I think I still like the multiplayer in GoldenEye better than I do Perfect Dark, even though Perfect Dark has the bots, just the feel, but you gotta have multiple people, so that's sort of the weakness too. And then later, I don't actually remember when I acquired Perfect Dark. I can't remember the years. For whatever reason, I have the hardest damn time associating what years I did stuff in what years I acquired certain games or systems, or, it's kind of a blur. I think I'm getting old or something. But, so then, later I got Perfect Dark, but before I got Perfect Dark, I had to buy this game. Why? Because at the time, this game was $40 and came with an expansion pack, as opposed to the expansion pack, which was $30. So, I'm kind of annoyed by the whole expansion pack gimmick. I mean, explain to me how Acclaim was able to get Turok 2 and Turok 3, two games that are definitely top tier in 64 graphics, specifically for third parties. They're able to get those to have a mode without the expansion pack and a mode with the expansion pack, but, somehow, the Nintendo second party games and first party games somehow couldn't figure it out, But Donkey Kong 64, ugh. I mean, my save has over 20 hours of, so I got 20 hours into this one, and then I just quit playing. I mean, the collect-a-thon gameplay, I don't mind some collecting as long as there's a point to it, but this game just, collect everything, but this isn't about Donkey Kong 64, so, anyway. So, I spent a lot of great time with Perfect Dark 2. The single-player mode is still also the part that holds up the best. The multiplayer, it added bots, which was not new. Unreal Tournament added, not Unreal Tournament, Old Unreal, as it's known by its fans. The original Unreal in 1998 added bots to the fray, and I'm not sure if there's other shooters that did it before. I'd have to look and see, because you PC gamers at the time would know more about that than I would. And Unreal also added secondary fire, so Perfect Dark wasn't completely original in either, but it brought them to the consoles, so I guess it should be mentioned for that. And the single player is good, but the problem with the multiplayer I had was, and it seems like a kind of a weak complaint, but the blur effect. It drove me crazy. Whenever you get slapped or hit in the game with, fists, it blurs your screen up, and I can deal with that, because in GoldenEye I was actually pretty darn good with slappers, but if you go up against a bot with slappers in Perfect Dark, you're going to lose every time. And, it's no big deal if your screen's all blurry and then you die and then you come back and your screen's fine, but no. In Perfect Dark, when you died and your screen was blurry, you came back, your screen was still blurry, and it was just really kind of annoying. It's like, dude, I died, it should reset this. So, and that was kind of an annoyance for Perfect Dark, but it had, spent a lot of time with this game too, killing bots and whatnot, and just having two players at the time, because I'd moved out to Arizona, so didn't have a third player for GoldenEye for a while, and by the time I, had a bunch of friends over, they didn't, the N64 era, none of them really played it, so they didn't want to get owned in, different games. But, the good thing is with two players, you could just, you and a friend, and you could just kill bots if you didn't want to fight each other, or if you wanted to fight each other, but, so, that added a bunch of replay value to the multiplayer if you didn't have, 4 players to go and kill each other with bots. And I'm still not sure if I've ever played Perfect Dark with 4 players, because, my friends later in the PS2 era and whatnot, if I would go back and play this, they'd give up too easily anyway, so, but, and then a lot of people seem to think that, the Perfect Dark GoldenEye lineage went GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and Perfect Dark Zero. And that's absolutely not true, because in early 1999, a lot of the members who worked on GoldenEye, or a number of people from Rare who worked on GoldenEye and who were working on Perfect Dark, branched off and formed a company that some of you should know, named Free Radical. And I remember reading this, and I was really excited for the game that they were making because when it comes down to it, the true sequel series to GoldenEye and Perfect Dark is easily Timesplitters. And the first Timesplitters was sort of rushed for the PS2 launch. Single player mode isn't that great. Basically just go in, get the artifact, and run out when the Timesplitters attack. But carried over a lot of the music, because the music guy from GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, the rare guy, brought it over to Timesplitters. And as far as deathmatch and bot match goes, once I got Timesplitters, I can't even go back and play Perfect Dark much. It just completely surpassed it, at least in multiplayer. But single player mode, Perfect Dark still wins because single player is basic. Yep, sorry about that. I heard something go bang outside, so I went out to check it out. It's a windy day here, so... So yeah, the single player in Timesplitters was extremely basic, but the multiplayer, I mean, fast, furious, and I think, what is it, 8 or 12 bots, I can't remember. But, first gen PS1 game, didn't look the prettiest, but, I mean, it's multiplayer. I mean, I can't tell you, like I said, once I got Timesplitters, I never even bothered looking back to Perfect Dark. As far as multiplayer goes, Perfect Dark had the better single player, obviously. But and here's something too. I mean, what it lacked in single player, they added. I mean, the challenge modes that Perfect Dark added. The different challenge modes. The challenge modes that Perfect Dark added, they carried over to Timesplitters. So. Even if you beat the single player, there were still extra modes in there to play. Challenge modes like kill 100 ducks in, I forget what, in like a couple of minutes. Or actually, early PS2 gamers have actually been playing zombie challenge modes since 2000. It also added a level editor mode, which it's simple. You just basically take different room tiles and place them together to create your own levels. But outside of the PC, this hadn't been done before, at least as far as I can think of on consoles. The PC had the mod community, and that's something completely different, but, this game actually lets you make your own levels, so there's tons of options for levels to play in, and this is something that was carried over in its sequels. So, it doesn't get enough credit for what Timesplitters implemented, and it was generally overlooked. I mean, it's gotten more credit lately, but at the time, people just didn't really. I mean, it was the era of Halo, so even though this came out before Halo, and you had co-op campaign too. Even though like I said, the single player wasn't spectacular, but co-op single player, and so and Perfect Dark had co-op single player, and so did a few other N64 games. But another little off note too. People have always tried to cash in on the GoldenEye or the 007 name ever since the original GoldenEye. But one of the best cash-ins was Eurocom developed GoldenEye, or not GoldenEye. The World Is Not Enough. 007. The World Is Not Enough. Pretty much. The best, copy, and some people actually like it better than the original GoldenEye, and I can actually understand that. And Eurocom was the same people that was the same development group that Activision later went to make their GoldenEye remake. So Eurocom's actually a pretty good developer too. But again, so if you have an N64 and you haven't played The World Is Not Enough, even though it was cash in to take off the name of GoldenEye and make money. It's still a high quality game, and it even actually has some bots in the deathmatch. They're not as good as the bots in Perfect Dark, but still definitely one you should check out. But and sorry for being sidetracked. So Timesplitters. Once I got Timesplitters, and I don't remember exactly which Christmas I got my PS2 in. Maybe 2001, maybe 2002. I can't. Like I said, it's kind of a blur. It's been over a decade. So, but yes, you think zombie modes are new in games? As far as console games go, they've been around for 12 years. You think level editors are new to console games? No. 12 years ago, Timesplitters. And you know, it was a rushed game. I mean, when you think about this, they left Rare in early '99. One of the, you know, Wikipedia says April '99, but that's Wikipedia, so, you know, or when Free Radical was formed in April '99, and this game actually hit 3 days before the PS2 launch in the U.S. So, so October 23rd, so between April 9, so a little over a year development on the PS2, which was at first a really tough system for developers to get their handle on, because it was just a, you know, it's a weird architecture. That's why Oddworld Inhabitants ended up releasing Munch's Odyssey on the Xbox, because of the difficulty they were having with PS2 development. So under a year, next generation hardware, and yeah, I mean, it is basic, and it does have, you know, a little bit of a rushed feel, but one thing Timesplitters 1 does have over Timesplitters 2 and 3, in my opinion, is just the sheer speed of the multiplayer. Timesplitters 2 and 3 weren't quite as fast, and this one is just fast and furious, but still, still a great game. But, you know, if you got used to Timesplitters 2 or Future Perfect, then you might not want to look back unless you're just curious to see how Timesplitters started. So, as far as I'm concerned, it goes GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and then the Timesplitters series. And, you know, any GoldenEye or 007 game or Perfect Dark game, to me, since, is just a name. It's not the real sequel series, as far as I'm concerned. So, then 2002, Timesplitters 2 came out. And Timesplitters 2 is, I mean, it upped the ante and everything that Timesplitters 1 implemented. Brought in a quality single player, brought in, you know, up the challenge modes to craziness, brought in monkeys, which I think there might be monkeys in Timesplitters 1. No, actually I don't think there are. I'd have to double check. But Timesplitters 2, I mean, crazy challenge modes, like avoid flaming monkeys for this amount of time, and, you know, more zombie modes, and challenge modes are something that have now just seemingly taken, you know, developers have kind of opened their minds to these. You know, they've been around for over a decade, but, you know, it adds more gameplay off the side of the single-player campaign, you know. You get a buddy and, you know, try and do challenge modes, and, you know, it's amazing how long some of these ideas take to catch on. I mean, it's like, you got, you know, games that were, you know, refining and revolutionary for their time, that had these cool modes, and been screaming about them for over a decade, and it just takes about a decade before the mainstream stuff catches up. So Timesplitters 2 is generally the fan favorite. Most of Timesplitters fans just love this game, and you can actually play this game online through Xlink. It didn't even have online service, official online service, but it has LAN, you know, local area network support, and if you have a PS2 network adapter or a Slim, which has it built in, you can actually play this on Netlink online, because, you know, LAN gameplay, multiple consoles hooked up through a router, so you can play, you know, multiple people against each other on different TVs. You know, it just takes it and splits it up to online. So, Timesplitters 2, generally the favorite in the series, and, I mean, the challenge modes, I mean, it's insane. To get gold in all the challenge modes, I mean, people like trophies nowadays, but if you complete Timesplitters 2 100%, life sends you a trophy. I'm serious. It's in the mail. I promise. Okay, I don't, but, you know, it's just one of those, it's insane, but great game, and there's a reason why the Timesplitters fans generally like the second one the best. But Timesplitters 3, also awesome. Again, different style of single player. I mean, Timesplitters 2, and the funny thing is, on one of my Timesplitters 2 gameplay videos, I don't know who it is, maybe some little kid, or maybe just someone that's uninformed, they saw the footage and they're like, GoldenEye N64 wannabe. It's like, oh. They actually posted that. It's like, well, when you realize that Free Radical used to be Rare members, to say that this game mirrors or mimics or feels like GoldenEye 64 is just kind of like, duh, made by the same people. You know, I didn't, you know, didn't insult the guy. I just kind of informed him, like, "Durr." So, you know, and there's a reason why it would feel like GoldenEye 64. And Future Perfect finally gave us online, but then the problem is they switched from IDOS to EA as the publisher, and EA in typical fashion only let the servers stay up for a certain amount of time before they took them down. But it was really cool, you know, you created maps, and again, Timesplitters 2, not only could you create maps, you could also create single-player missions, and it's carried over in Timesplitters 3. And the cool thing about the online mode was you could actually go on and you could download other people's maps, other people's single-player missions. So it just opened up the door, and it was, you know, it gave gamers the ability to use creativity. If you don't know how to program and you can't make mods, you can still make your own thing, you know, and that's something that gaming needs to really open its eyes up to. I mean, it's starting to, but, you know, when gamers are allowed to be creative, I mean, that just improves the game so much, and gives it so much more replay value, you know. You get Timesplitters 2 or Timesplitters 3, I mean, you can play these games for years, and there's tons of entertainment in them, whether it be the challenge modes or the ability to create your own content. But yeah, EA did eventually shut the servers down, so you can't go online and download the maps and stuff. And you know, PS2 online people found a way in to Code 9, Codebreaker. So there's a specific online cheater in Timesplitters 3 online. So Snabo, blow me. His notorious online cheater who would just stay in his game all the time and just, you know, rape the stats. And guy named Snabo or I don't know, but yeah, screw you, dude. So, and they also Free Radical also made an offshoot, not really an offshoot to the Timesplitters, but made another game. You know, this one published by Codemasters called Second Sight, and I have a video of it as an underrated gem. But the cool thing is, I mean, it's kind of weird. Both Second Sight and PsyOps have a lot of the same ideas, but they came out so close to each other. It's just one of those weird coincidences where it seemed like the developers were thinking the same thing, you know, similar things at the same time. Second Sight has a weirder control scheme, but still, quality game. You should look into it. I think it might also be on the Xbox. I'd have to go back and double check. You know, if I have the PS2 version, I don't generally look into other versions unless I want to do comparisons. So, but yeah, it's just kind of cool that PsyOps and Second Sight have a lot of the same kind of like psychic abilities and stuff in their gameplay. And their PsyOps is a great game too, but I have a lot of great ideas. You know, the same ideas in their gameplay that are as each other. So, but. And Second Sight has the unique Timesplitters art style. You know, it's kind of a cartoony, kind of goofy, and that was also the appeal of Timesplitters. They weren't like serious. I mean, and their single player modes, like I said, you know, co-op campaign in all of them, and they could be tough too if you put the settings up harder. You know, so in reality, Timesplitters pretty much perfected GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and by comparison, I still like these two games. I hold them in high regard because of how much I played them. But when it comes down to it, if I had to make a choice, goodbye. And Timesplitters is the superior series because, you know, the next-gen hardware jump, you know, finally perfected some of the problems, you know, with early 3D gaming, you know, frame rate issues and all that stuff. So, yeah, and again, Future Perfect, I mean, generally the debate between gamers is Timesplitters 2 or Future Perfect, of which one's their favorite, and, you know, just collect the whole series. Even the first one, like I said, it might not have aged as well compared to these two because it was rushed and didn't have much for single player, but still, the speed of the multiplayer is still good, and you know, as time went on, the level editor evolved more, so these two have better level editors. This one is more simplistic. But, I mean, people have probably seen my gameplay. I downloaded a map online from Timesplitters Future Perfect of, I think it's the Complex from GoldenEye, and you can actually recreate some of these, or you can create your own levels. I mean, it's not that the tile system is perfect, but You know, it actually works pretty well if you're going to recreate some of the old stuff. So, but unfortunately, Free Radical had to get in bed with Ubisoft, and at the end we got Haze, which, you know, I liked Haze. I didn't think it was crap. I thought it was okay, but it didn't live up to Timesplitters in any way, shape, or form, and apparently Ubisoft was the developer that liked to, you know, whenever Free Radical was working for IDOS, IDOS would pay them every month regardless, and IDOS wouldn't see the final game until the end when they sent it in for quality testing, whereas Ubisoft was more always there and in their face and trying to get their stuff done, and I can't help but feel that, you know, Haze was rushed. Obviously, why there are a bunch of glitches whenever the game first released. I mean, they patched them, but, I mean, if they had had more time on Haze, I think Haze would have been turned out a lot better. But it was just one of those things. So then Free Radical pretty much went out of business after Haze, but they were, or maybe they were, it was just they were acquired. You know, they were having troubles, and then Crytek ended up buying them, the guys behind Crysis and whatnot. So they're now known as Crytek UK. But still, all these years later, and still the fans of the Timesplitters series are still, you know, I think there's even an online petition for HD remakes of the Timesplitters games. You know, and I say even put the first one in there, HD remake, just so people can see how it evolved. You know, and hopefully maybe someday we'll see Timesplitters 4, but I'm not holding my breath. But you never know. And the series, it has gained in popularity. I mean, at the time, again, it was overshadowed by games like Halo, and when people were talking about first-person shooters on consoles, it was generally Halo and some of the other ones. But Timesplitters, you know, you mention it, and they're like, whatever, Timesplitters, it's not even half as cool as Halo. It's not as beastly, but, you know, Halo's a slower, less fun version of Quake and Unreal when you look at it. So, say what you want, but the Quake Marine would murder Master Chief with one of his little slow, floaty jumps. Rail, 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 dead. Actually, it wouldn't even take that many. But, anyway. So, when it comes down to games like Perfect Dark Zero and, you know, Eurocom still did a good job in the Goldeneye remake, but like I said, these are just names to me now, because I know that the real lineage of Goldeneye and Perfect Dark are not Perfect Dark Zero, and certainly not the cash-ins off the name. And I don't have a, was it Rogue Agent? Yeah, Rogue Agent on any of the at least I don't think I do. I'd have to go back and check and see. But I don't have Rogue Agent, which was EA's own cash, you know, Goldeneye Rogue Agent, which was EA's own cash-in on the Goldeneye name when EA had the license, and now Activision has a license. But, you know, even though this is actually a pretty good game in its own right, it's just definitely not Goldeneye. But Eurocom has always made, you know, the closest, the next best thing, or for in some people's eyes, you know, The World Is Not Enough was better than Goldeneye. So when it comes down to it, the reason why people didn't seem to like this, and first and foremost, it actually did, Perfect Dark Zero did kind of recapture the same feel as Perfect Dark. It's just, for me, it wasn't that spectacular because Perfect Dark and Goldeneye had already been surpassed, in my opinion. And again, you know, so that's just sort of my view and my overview on Goldeneye and Perfect Dark, and just, you know, the true sequel series is Timesplitters. So if you're a big fan of Goldeneye and Perfect Dark on the N64, instead of coming on my videos and telling me how Timesplitters 2 is just a Goldeneye wannabe, maybe you should actually realize that the real sequel series is Timesplitters. And if you haven't checked them out, maybe it's about time you did, and maybe you should jump on that bandwagon and maybe sign that petition to get the HD remakes made, so new gamers and people who missed them can actually play these games. So, great series, great games, tons of replay, and, well, I guess that's all I got to say on the matter. And again, the opinions expressed in this video are my opinions, and if they are not your opinions and you want to tell me how my opinion is stupid, blow me. Again, I said that again. Goodbye, sir. Okay, yes, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I was just goofing off with that. So, if you don't share the same opinion as me, obviously that's cool because everyone's got different opinions on different things. So, and with that, I guess I'll talk to you guys next time I decide to make some sort of a video.